Take two.
Yeah, we're ready to roll?
I think we're ready to roll.
Okay. Here we go.
There we go.
Karen Barbee, the baby boomer belly dancer, and today I'm here with Kathy Swanson and Gylon Jackson.
Yes, you are.
On this side of the whatever. What is that? Booth?
The window booth.
Sound booth?
Sound booth. But I'm turning it to another video booth, or the second video booth.
And we're here to talk about the technology of Karavan Studio and its evolution over the last more than a decade.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because I was just thinking, like, I'm sure I ran a studio without a website since it started in 1988, but for a long time, that was all I had was a website. The big deal with us now, of course, is the online class library and more on that since the pandemic. But let's just get caught up with you guys, who the hell you are and how you all came on board. Because it was in 2009, that was before any of you guys, that I was working with a gal, Daniela Matutis, and I was on my little break from running the full studio, and I'd scaled way down to just teaching in a couple of classes a week and trying to figure out what I wanted to do next. And Daniela and I launched Belly Dance Fun. That was the first version of online classes.
That.
Yeah. And again, that was about 2009. But it was shortly after that she ended up moving away and wasn't able to work on. That was back when like proximity and geography mattered. You know, like you needed to have somebody in the same city as you to work on things. That's such an obscure concept now. But that was when I turned to you, Gylon, because you had been doing technology and social media
Tommy.
and all of that for Tommy, for my husband, for his campaigns and all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So that's when
I was actually raising. I met Mario,
who was Tommy's chief of staff.
Tommy's chief of staff at the time, at a bar with a buddy of mine. And I don't think we wanted to go, but it showed up there and everybody was just having a good time. And I'll never forget Mario saying, "Hey, yeah, we're looking for somebody to work with Tommy." Or I don't know what we were just talking. I think we were talking about the Obama election, right? Because it was still fresh on everybody's mind and everything else. And I said, "Well, I do social media management and stuff." He's like, "You mean like Obama?" And I'm like, "Well, not Obama, but yeah, I understand it. I do it." He's like, "Well, I'm looking for somebody," because Tommy was getting ready to run again. And that's when we sat down and met with Tommy, and I was introduced to the Karavan clan.
Yeah. You know, I remember being in his office when he met you, and you were talking about some social media stuff, and I can remember laughing so hard when you were talking about tweets. Like, I thought that was just hilarious. Like, how stupid.
Right.
And something like that is just so stupid. Surely that's not going to last. Twitter and tweets.
I know Twitter. Yeah. Well, and that was the early years of Twitter too.
Oh yeah.
Twitter was, 2009, 2010, Twitter was just a blip on the radar. Matter of fact, they used to have what was called the fail well, because their servers went down so much. And it would be a well, and the fail well was just like the well, and you go to Twitter and it didn't work. But then there was another service, and I can't remember the name of it, but everybody would go migrate over to this service until Twitter came back up, and they would come back to the other server to come back to Twitter.
Yeah. So when you came on board with Karavan, I don't even know what we did. Like, it was still belly dance fun for a while.
It was still belly dance fun, but we didn't do anything. We talked about it. It was really one fell swoop, right? We came in. I'm like, no, we're not going to do belly dance fun. I don't think that's the name. And you agreed. And we went and bought a bunch of equipment. And we set it up. And next thing you know, we had live streaming, switching cameras.
Right.
It was literally that quick. We did have to redesign the website because we had a billing issue, right? Which has probably been one of the issues that we've had all along. But we couldn't delete people, and then it was PayPal, and it was just and PayPal was
just PayPal,
right? It was just PayPal, and that was it.
Yeah. So that went on for a while, and then we were remembering last week that was when your parents started the food truck thing, and they kept pulling you in.
They kept on pulling me in, and Karen, frankly, Karen got frustrated because I was there, and I think that's when we brought somebody else in to record, and it was a lot going on. It was growing, and Kathy met Karen, and Kathy had pretty spreadsheets. And Karen likes pretty spreadsheets. And if she filled a void that we needed, I kind of needed. I could argue all day long that I think the platform we went to, and I don't want to mention names, was not the right one at the time. However, it kind of carried us to the next level, right? It did help us a lot. But yeah.
So do you remember when, we were trying to remember this last week, when I was on the board of the fund with you. It gets so blurry, man.
It does. And it had to be like 2012, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, or at least after that, because I was in Austin working on a bigger project.
But I want to say it was like
Before
14
then.
or 15.
It could have been that.
It was later because we were
back a little bit because we had been on the board for a little while, got to know each other.
Yeah, I don't know. I know I was on the board.
Now.
I was on the board when Tommy was a commissioner and had not yet run for the offices beyond that.
Because I think it was after Shades of Green when we were doing some of the Shades of Green
luncheons that I would host as the commissioner's wife.
I don't remember because Kathy started coming to everything, right? So she started coming to GBDAC and being a part of the clan.
And Shades of Green.
So you did come to Shades of Green luncheon.
Then it was probably the second one then, maybe the second or the third one.
Yeah, it's almost like rings on a tree. You know when that impact happened.
Yeah.
And
Right.
you figure, just work around that.
I think maybe it was then that would be maybe 2013, 2014. Yeah. No, I don't think it was that late. It would have probably been 2012, 2013.
Okay, somewhere in there. That's
Right.
good. We can move on. Okay. Just sit here and try to figure out what we got for Christmas that year so we can really get it all in perspective.
Well, speaking of Christmas, no.
But anyway, you came on board and we redesigned the website again. That's just constantly happening, isn't it?
It was
Freaking
3 times. It was
redesigning websites.
We literally have I want to say we're on our 5th iteration within 8 or 9 years
of the website.
Yeah. Because I think I had done it 2 times. Kathy did it once, twice.
Oh gosh, it's like
3 twice.
Well, and then you and I did it this time, and then of course there's the latest and greatest cover photos.
right, which are amazing. The fact that it took me a year to get that done. Karen actually is probably my favorite client in the whole wide world. No, to be real, I mean, it took me, and I'll just be, I'm not going to talk about Kathy here, but it took me a year to get 2 pictures put up on the site. And I still don't remember the first email of you sending.
It did. You're right. So we have monthly meetings, the 3 of us.
Yep.
And I had a note from March of 2020 saying, "Hey, Gylon, can we change the front pictures?"
So that was at the beginning of COVID.
It was the last time we met in person, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
COVID, damn it, COVID. I had COVID for a year.
Yeah, right. Right. What you had was more time to have been doing it. And it took a year to get those changed. Yeah. But that, whatever.
It was on the anniversary of the meeting. I mean, come on.
It's funny. It's funny.
Divine
but
timing.
It looks good, right? It's nice
It looks amazing.
Those photos changed. And I changed it because that one photo is me sitting in front of the band when they're doing a sound check at GBDAC, and the other photo is me dancing with the band and live music. That's what it's all about these days.
It is.
And
all about.
It is all about live music.
Let's just go there for a second, because this has been an interesting journey evolving the technology behind the website and the online classes and all of that with someone whose primary love is live music, and there's an inherent disconnect and we can talk about Zoom and all of these kind of things with, lag time and blah, 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 and just trying to get as much of the experience across to people as possible in a flat screen. The challenge of all of that, and the challenge that you guys, I'm sure, feel at least every monthly meeting when I'm sitting there, live music. This is all I care about. And yet I have to have all this technology. And yet y'all are constantly having to convince me that we can represent what I care about so much in the virtual world. And I have a tendency to not agree with that. And so we have to continue to reconcile that sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Because, one of the things that is such a possibility that we're realizing now is that anyone on this planet and off this planet can belly dance now because of the technology.
Right.
And so being able to give people access to that, because you have, when we've delved into the things that you love, and if it wasn't about what you love and your mission and your vision, then we wouldn't be doing it. the two things that are just really stand out are being able to introduce this wonderful art form of belly dance to people who are beginning and give them that access to how to make that work in whatever they're trying to accomplish, whether it's fitness or fantasy or whatever. And then on the other side of the spectrum, you know, the improvisation and the live music. Just incredible how you're able to go ahead and do that, and being able to share that love. Now you can share that love with everybody,
Right?
And not limit the access to somebody who's local, similar to what we were talking about earlier.
Very, very true. Very, very true. So I have a couple of things that came to mind as you were saying that. Woo! 2 things came to mind, and I wrote them down. So one of those things, I guess I'm wanting to talk about the other one, but the other one that's not the one I want to talk about keeps jumping into my head. So we're going to talk about that one first.
Okay.
One of the things that we have discussed over the years has been the content of the website. Like, it's all me and my teachers at Karavan. And, you know, we've said, oh, maybe we need some guest instructors. Maybe we need additional people and all that kind of stuff. And I've been resistant to that, as you all know. And there's a reason for that. And I was reflecting on it as I was driving over here. That reason still exists. And it is, I have dealt in the studio with a lot of YouTube learners. You know, they've come in and they've watched a whole bunch of this dancer and that dancer and then this dancer and a couple from that dancer. And they've cobbled together this sense of knowing what they're doing. And it's a mess. It's a mess, and it's incoherent, and they've memorized blocks of stuff that don't necessarily work together, and trying to create a foundation on somebody when they come in with that kind of baggage is really difficult. And then trying to progress them when that's their sense of a good starting point is really freaking difficult. And so my resistance to just hosting a bunch of great dancers on my website is partially that, because I feel like part of my job as a studio owner and as a professional is to help people assimilate. And when you're just collecting crap and throwing it out there, because, hey, she's good and she's good and she's good, but you can't connect the dots and help a student assimilate that, then I feel like that's not terribly helpful to really build a great dancer.
What I'm hearing is it's where I can, as a dude, and you messed with me earlier because of my dude speak with my buddy as he was leaving, but it reminds me of a football player. Like, when you hear Kobe Bryant talk, who's basketball.
Yeah, I think he doesn't play football.
Right.
God rest his soul, he didn't play football.
But you hear him say Michael Jordan was my idol. You don't hear anybody else, right? So he plays to strive to be as great as Michael Jordan. LeBron James, the same thing, right? He doesn't have 6 or 7 different idols that he learned from. He has teachers that he's learned from, but he only wants to idolize to be one person. And I think maybe what happens in YouTube is it's an idolization of said dancers rather than learning from those dancers. So they're not idolizing one dancer. They don't have a mentor or a teacher. What they have is a bunch of people that they're looking like, oh, I want to be like that. Oh, I want to do that. I want to do that. And then when they come into your room, it's kind of like, well, wait a minute now. This doesn't work.
Well, and there's another thing, because we're always talk about the neuroscience of all this kind of stuff too, is that they are taking on the thing of the dabbler. That is one of the things that if you really want to actually live something, you need to get past the dabbler stage. And I've learned along the way that the dabbler stage happens when you're focused on education. And we are very focused in our culture on education. And I will admit, personally, I was tremendously focused on all the answers are in a book or on a YouTube video or something like that. And we don't end up having the structures and the mentors, the guides like yourself. We don't, and we keep on flipping around guides, and we don't give them the chance, and we don't do the work and practice to where we're successful. We get to a certain point and it's like, oh, I've learned this so much. I've got my book learning. I followed this mentor for 6 weeks, whatever. Okay, well, what's the next thing? I'm not there yet. What's the next thing? What's the next thing? And we're always on to the next thing, which ends up keeping us in the dabbler mode. And that's not beneficial.
No,
to
it's
it.
not beneficial. I have not thought about the word dabbler. I'm loving that word dabbler.
Okay.
I'm visualizing a field in our database where people classify themselves as a
Dabblers.
professional or a hobbyist, and I'm thinking we need dabbler
Dabbler.
because that's like
Yeah.
that's a whole different thing. You
We
know,
can do it.
Yeah, I know.
We can make that happen.
I just want to send out that survey
And
right now.
it winds up being crazy too, because to bring it to technology, I dabbled in so many things, and until recently, I'm like, okay, I'm going to do video casts. I'm going to be podcasts. That's what I'm going to do. I'm not going to try to manage everybody's social media. I'm not going to try to take pictures. I'm not trying to do all these other things if it doesn't revolve very tightly within a certain space, because I am a child of the internet. 41 years, I'm 47, 41 years, I've had a computer in front of me in one shape, form, or another, and not a gamer. So when it comes and people sit down and they talk to me, they're like, how do you, and I don't know, but I spend so much time in front of a computer. So I dabble in a lot of computer stuff. And because I think that in the industry, you have to always be moving forward and always be changing. You can't rest on your laurels.
Absolutely. And when you're talking about marketing automation, sales automation, business operations, and using these tools, you got to be able to keep up. And that's one of the things that I've learned to focus as well, because, well, actually, I wrote a book about it.
Go ahead, you can promote your book here.
Yeah.
George promoted his CD, so you can promote your book.
Fantastic. So in the midst of all doing this stuff with Karen and Gylon and other clients, I wrote a best-selling book called Automation Works, Turning Your Marketing from a Money Pit into a Money-Making Machine. And it is purposely not a how-to book, because I would be writing every 3 months.
Yeah.
And so it was a why-to book for decision makers, because if you're making your business decisions, those business decisions drive everything else. So like one of the things we commonly use is the concept of, is it following what the focus that we want, or is it off to the side? If it's off to the side, maybe we'll do it. But it's more of an ego thing, I know so many companies, I've got to go ahead and get this award. It's like, okay, that's an ego thing. That is not a monetized metric. That's a business goal to achieve. So recognize it as it is and put it in the proper category. But yeah, being able to go ahead and focus, which I'm not doing right now because my headphones are flying off, it feels like. But being able to go ahead and focus your efforts so that you can see the landscape, and at the same time you know where you're going. You're flying over and you know what to pick up, and you know what to maybe not, or make mistakes like Twitter. Type of deal. But you end up seeing the things that you should pull in and the things that maybe not. So, but yeah, you've going back to point. You've had guest instructors.
I have had some, but very few.
We
and
did
most of
live.
the instructors that aren't me on the website are instructors that teach at the studio, and a lot of them. I mean, most everybody that teaches anything that shows up on the website, it's because they are working toward presenting that at one of our big showcases,
And so they're following you as well. I mean, it's almost like they're a student of Karen Barbee.
Right. And
so they understand the methods.
They do,
the
and the format of class and all of that kind of stuff. And some of them have very different styles from me, but it's something that I could explain. I see the relationship between and occasionally I have to. I've had people ask me about some things. Like a person is teaching a class and they aren't understanding it, and so off to the side they're like, "What's going on with that?" And I'm like, "Well, think of it as blah 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 in my language," and then it kind of comes together.
And what's kind of cool about that is we've been able to say, hey, go look back at this video wise to help them learn. So if they're messed up or they haven't seen something or they don't get the concept, they can go back and look at it time and time again. Let me ask you this. What's been your favorite part of technology that we've implemented, that we've done at the studio over the years?
My favorite part.
Yeah, your favorite part.
Oh,
Numbers?
gosh. I mean, I really haven't thought
Camera hanging from the ceiling.
about it. Camera hanging from the ceiling. No, I guess
More than one hanging.
Yeah.
it's just the presence of it. I mean, like what comes to mind immediately is I have spiral notebooks stacked at the studio with notes in it from classes that I've taught. Not having to do that, like when you're like, I remember that there was a problem in this one section last week, and I need to address it. What was that? I don't have to comb through my notes where I've written in chicken scratch like a doctor, and I don't know what the hell it says. I go online. I go to that part in the class where we're doing that, and I can watch everybody and go, "That's the problem. That's the problem."
Right. Yeah.
So it's that. It's just freaking having that to review. The presence of it. I remember teaching in the studio on South Alamo in 1996 when I quit my job, and thinking there should be a way that I can record on VHS, because that was what it was then.
Right, it was,
on VHS, every class I teach, and have it in a library. And that way, if people miss the class, they could at least watch that video. There ought to be a way to do that, by golly. There ought to be. And now here we are, and now here we are, obviously.
Yeah.
And this leads to something that I think is a fun thing to discuss regarding our circumstance, and that is when everything tanked last year because of COVID, I didn't feel a thing.
No.
I didn't feel a thing. I had a whole bunch of dancers at the studio who at one point or another had missed a class and had to review it online, because that's what dancers do. If you show up live to the class every week, that's great. If you miss one because you're sick or blah, 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 you don't worry about it because it's filmed and it's put out online. So you watch it before you go to the next class and you're caught up. So everyone was used to those camera angles. Everyone was used to listening to me over everyone. And so when the world told them to stay home, they're like, fine. And they just started playing it on. There was no learning curve. Yeah. There was no nothing. Mm-hmm. There was no what kind of camera do we need? We've had them. There was no what software?
Yeah.
It was seamless. Yeah. I had to remind myself so many times over the last year to put a mask on, because I was like, nothing changed for me. I mean, there were fewer people in the studio.
Sure.
But otherwise, nothing changed. Just record it, put it out there, didn't miss a lick. That was phenomenal. And I remember so many people in the dance community reaching out to me and saying, help, how do you get this going and stuff? And,
well, you did live events for people, and people like Zoom, and they brought somebody else to do the Zoom. And that's when you brought in the band, one of the band members from Houston, to play at Radius, because you didn't want to dance to, you had to dance live music.
Okay. So that was, Bahia's virtual Hafla, or a little fundraiser. Right.
Yeah.
And they were having everybody, submit their music and what are you going to be dancing to, and our sound check and all that kind of stuff. And I just knew that I would fall flat on my face dancing to recorded music, because I haven't done it in so long. And it's just, that's not true. I guess I've done it, but it's just not what drives me. And I felt like her event was important. So I would like to put my best out there. And I knew I wasn't going to get my best out of a recording. So yes, we brought in Ahmed from Houston, and he played there in the Radius Center in San Antonio while I danced and projected it out to Austin and everywhere else.
And then there was the time we almost got arrested because of technology.
Oh yeah, I remember. I was sitting at home watching on Facebook Live, and it was going so nicely, and then all of a sudden it's like, Gylon, why'd you mute the camera? I'm texting him. It's like, what's going on?
Did we ever find out who reported? So it was in the middle of COVID.
I'm thinking we just had the anniversary of that. I should have made a big deal out of it. It was like April 18th or something like that. It was not that long ago.
And we had all the rules and all the regulations, and it was 6 feet, wear your mask, don't hang out with anybody. And we did everything we were supposed to. We had people waiting down the hall, coming around in their cars, and the only two people that were hanging out with each other was Karen and myself.
Yeah, and they had their runway.
They had a runway to come in, and they came in one door, came out the other door.
Yes.
And next thing you know, we have the city of San Antonio knocking on our door telling us to shut down.
Right. And I had brought in one of the musicians from Houston. He had driven all the way in.
I don't think I'd ever seen Karen so mad.
I was really mad.
In the moment. And it wasn't like a FU mad, but it was like, wow, somebody really took the time out because this is fun. At the time, I mean, that was when people were losing their minds. They had no idea what to do.
And the rules, the ordinances, the edicts that were coming out were still really murky.
Exactly.
And they were
Incredibly
still
so.
working through them. And so for anybody to be so confident to think that they had a grip on how this was supposed to be a going and that I wasn't doing it right was really, really
Where somebody
really a bit
called.
much.
Which means, hey, it's nothing better than a bunch of people watching you.
That's right. You were getting some good exposure.
Exactly. And in the face of adversity is innovation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it
And
was
so
all-
then we started going ahead and putting the videos on the blog posts, and it's actually, that was a precursor to what we're doing today.
Yeah, it was all fine, and it continues to be a great story to tell. We do get a
Oh,
lot of
it's a
mileage
great
out of
story.
the
Well,
story.
and not
It's the
only
closest
that-
I've come to being arrested.
I know, right? Not only that, then we did Breaking the Law. Who sings Breaking the Law?
Judas Priest.
Judas Priest, right? And so then she put together the most cheesy dance routine
Absolutely.
ever. It was
Well, the whole damn thing was cheesy.
Yeah,
the
no,
whole
yeah.
event. The whole.
So then she sent it out, and the women learned it on video. They didn't come into the class to learn it, right? Because we
Right,
couldn't
they
hold
learned it on
class.
video.
They learned it on video, and then
We
they
sent out
went back.
emails and such, and said,
Ah,
hey,
where's that?
play with
If I
us.
have that video, you know what? I may clip it in the
Okay.
middle. Yeah, clip it in, and then so now you have these women running in place, dancing, fake guns, and dressed in black and white, and it was a performance video.
Yeah.
It was like performance. It really was performance art. If you really stopped and this was.
It reminded me of Laughing. It was all these panels.
Right.
Because, before everybody got really, really, really into the Zoom thing, it was like
Oh,
all
sure.
these panels
Sure.
that you pulled together.
you're right. Yeah.
Of everybody.
It was back when panels of people were interesting. Now that's all you see all the time, or different
panels of
gallery
people,
view.
yeah. Well, and that's what because you had some singing choirs and groups that really quickly put these together, and that's where I came from. I was like, okay, let me put these people here and move them around, and the girls loved it. They absolutely loved it.
Yeah, it was really good therapy for us because we were really mad, and I mean just the whole idea that we were somehow breaking the law
I know,
by doing what we were doing.
like we really were breaking the
Oh my
law
God,
at
it's
the
getting
time.
me pissed off. Don't
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah,
City
we could
elections
talk
are
for
coming up. Don't get me
hours
started
on that one. So glad I don't live in the city.
Yeah. But that whole discussion started from that point that thanks to you guys, I was hardly affected at all.
Yeah,
By-
even your privates. I mean, I remember us sitting at the coffee shop talking. You and I were talking about, gosh, I hate this thing of scheduling these privates with these dancers and making it to where they show up and getting all that to happen, and we automated it. And we allowed them to go ahead and sign up, and they show up, and then even online for Skype.
Right.
And you've been doing
once.
privates for years before.
Yeah, absolutely.
That was the interesting thing about all of this is a lot of this in some way, shape, or form or another we had messed up, we didn't like it, we had already started using Zoom. We were doing some of these things already, and it wasn't like we didn't have to open the spigot, we didn't have to do anything different.
Well, we didn't have to. Big thing is we didn't have to educate the dancers.
Right.
They were already educated.
Yes. And that's
inspired.
I think that's the biggest issue that a lot of studio owners had.
Oh, gosh, yes.
Like, okay, fine, you can set your damn phone up and record something and load it up to your YouTube channel, fine, and have your students watch it, but will they? Are they used to doing that at a certain level? And I think that was a big challenge for a lot of people. We need to talk about GBDAC last year. And what we did to hold that shit together, because that was a cluster.
That was awesome.
So our initial plan was GBDAC at the Buena Vista Theater at UTSA.
That was what we were gonna do.
Right. And then they closed us down how long before that?
Well, I remember asking the Buena Vista Theater if we could go in and take some photos to promote it in March. And he was like, I don't know that we're going to do this. So by April, it was all shut down.
Right. It was all shut down. So then we had to figure out where we were going to do it and how we were going to do it.
And whether we were going to, so what are we going to do about the live music? And what are we going to do about the recorded music? And it was absolutely brilliant when you said, no recorded music this first time. We'll do the recorded music later.
Yeah, which it was.
Totally reduce the number of dancers. And admittedly, people who are dancing to live music are in your project band, and they're committed and they're serious, and you end up having people who are more familiar with the way you work. So it really isolated the people that were going to be in presence at GBDAC with them and the musicians, type of thing. I wasn't even there. I was in San Antonio.
You were in San Antonio. That all
remotely
went down because I had already bought so many musicians' airline tickets and stuff, and I didn't want to have to shuffle that around any more than I absolutely had to. And so, so then I create this, like, I'm sure y'all were just like, okay, fine. Like, make it work. All right, make it work, guys. So I'm going to take all of these dancers and all of these musicians. We're going to go to another city. We're going to go to Houston. And because I was eliminating the recorded music component, some of the dancers in Project Band felt a little bit of freedom to do other things. Like, like if you have to deal with a family situation in another state, which was something, or you've got some health challenged family members, and so you need to be cognizant of the COVID stuff. And now we're going to Houston, so you don't want to go to Houston. So I actually created, by doing that, more remote issues. Yeah. So instead of my 20 whatever dancers all picking up and going to Houston, there were like 6 or 7 that were in other places. But the band was playing in Houston.
1, 2, 3 at 1, 2. There was 5.
Okay.
We have 5 remotes.
Okay.
3 were dancing together. 3 were dancing together in San Antonio, mind you.
But then there was Jessica. There was Suzanne.
Jessica and Suzanne.
And
matter of fact, they went to your studio. Baby? No, baby. Because so who danced at your studio?
That was Shay, Margaret, and Becky.
So where was baby Helen then? Did she?
I think baby Helen was in Austin. Suzanne was in Georgia. I remember Jessica
Suzanne
was in California.
Right.
I think that was it.
About 6.
Okay, so not only
are they remote.
Not only they're remote during a pandemic.
Dancing to freaking live music
being played in Houston.
And my budget's about $2,000.
Yeah, and that's after you got that additional Wi-Fi.
Well, okay, so Karen says this, and I'm like, okay. So I do test, and we figure out we
drove to Houston and back in a day to test their Wi-Fi. At that
yes,
point.
we did. Yeah, and we did, and we said, and at the last minute, I'm like, I don't know if their Wi-Fi is going to work. I said because it was the piece of equipment was more than I thought it was worth to rent, and it was a little 5G hotspot doggle thing, right? But I thought it was just more than it was worth to rent. I'm like, no. And we wound up renting it, and it was probably the best thing we've ever done, because otherwise the remote dancers would have all fallen on their face, because at the club, the Wi-Fi went to shit. And these little kids came in, like 5 kids came in, and they all jumped on their phone at the same time, and the Wi-Fi was just like, done. Right. And then they didn't know where the box was. I couldn't plug in or anything else. So we pull out this little Verizon wireless. Verizon, where's my check? We pull out this Verizon wireless piece and we plug it in, and bam, we have internet. And we have great, solid internet.
Yeah.
So then we have to figure out, and we had already figured it out, but I had to take the band, play the band live, stream it back to the girls, and then combine that stream together and then stream it back out over Zoom. Over Zoom.
And I'm handling the Zoom production.
Day one, yeah.
And you were yeah. there was that little puppy fiasco.
Yeah, the puppy fiasco day 2.
Fiasco on day 2.
So we have, and I need to look at it again because I still can't encompass in my head how that actually happened, because we had a live band playing. Yeah. And all I can remember, I remember Suzanne because she's in somebody's backyard with these huge trees in Georgia. And it was a gorgeous backdrop. If everybody would have had like beautiful backdrops with great cameras, it would have been even more spectacular. But Suzanne's dancing in her backyard on Wi-Fi, and people are watching it on the internet. Now, nobody really knew. The guys couldn't see anybody dancing. They couldn't see anything. They couldn't see Jessica dancing. All they knew is to play the song. And then why didn't the 3 girls in the stayed in town? Didn't somebody's mom have something serious going on? So she couldn't come back because we had the girls that danced at your studio rather than coming out to Houston.
So first of all, this is a complicated one. Let me remember what it was. It was that one of them, Becky, I think, was had a solo that she was going to be able to do a solo in the show, but she didn't want to do it by herself. So she wanted to include a couple of other people, and that's when it got more complicated.
Yeah.
So, and so it was because of her having her comrades with her that it became an issue for everybody going to Houston. And so the three of them had to stay together. So they were a package from the get-go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now we did, and the one thing I've learned in technology, especially during COVID, is test, and test again. You got to set up an hour to 2 hours before the test. And I did test with the girls before that. So we had a good idea of what was happening. But even opening the studio, and we're not talking about it, it's working now, though. Make sure, everything's good. Last week, I started recording in the studio, and we lost 45 minutes of recording. And it was just crazy. It's like, there's always a little something with technology. So when you can have those dancers, it's always the nuances. But yeah, so we GBDAC in Houston, dancers in 3 or 4 different parts of the United States, and we pulled it off. And they were able to hear their music dancing to beat on their music, which was a challenge.
Right. Now, in terms of all of that going out to people to watch, like if I was watching that, I'd about gone crazy because of the lag, the inherent disconnect in time
that you normally would have if they were dancing to lagged music, but they weren't.
What?
Huh?
What? You're saying there was no lag?
No, there was no lag.
There was lag.
No.
Get out.
There was lag for Karen, but not for us.
There's lag.
There's that slight bit of lag on Zoom with all that integration. And just like this, if you have a
but
Zoom
it was
meeting,
a lag, but it wasn't lag from the girls hearing the song. They were dancing on beat.
They heard it.
They heard the song. I mean, I don't know how the channels were working, but if the music went boom, then she did it. There's that little bit of a disconnect.
Really, there was still there because I thought it was I thought it was right on.
It's
not right on.
It was pretty amazing,
close.
but
then it was
close.
the stream coming back in because their stream they were dancing.
In Project Band, nanoseconds matter.
But now they're going ahead and dancing like on the screen while the band is there, and the band gets to watch the dancer.
You mean when we do our perform rehearsals here? Yeah, so that was groundbreaking. What happened at GBDAC was groundbreaking because heretofore, when girls in Project Band were signing up to do their rehearsals with live music, they had to frickin' be there.
Yeah.
Unless you lived in California or New York or whatever. And then, of course, then we would make an exception and we would go, okay, fine, and we'd Skype you in. But now it's not that damn big of a deal, right? Because we've been doing it so much. So every single time we have a perform rehearsal, and we have them monthly, somebody is doing that over the internet. The band is playing the song. It's your song. So, there's a certain amount of, I'm on. Even if you're not physically right there, there's that, I'm on. And we can record their rehearsal and move forward with their little learning experience from there. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And you could actually, and the other thing that we're talking about doing now is in different circles is you take your phone, you put your phone in front of you, you dance to the music on the phone, then you upload the phone, and then you take the music, the live music, and then you overlay it to what they were dancing to, and that should match up to where it looks like they're dancing to live, uninterrupted live music. So we haven't done that. We haven't needed to do it.
Right. Yeah.
But we did it once. We did it at least once with GBDAC though. Not to the live music. We did it to the recorded music.
To record, we've done it to recorded music, but because even if you look at interviews, it's very interesting. They'll have a camera that you can see somebody set up the camera on the interview, and it's perfect. But then they have a computer in front of them, and so they're doing like Zoom, and then in post production they line those two cameras up, and what you're talking about on Zoom, and now it looks like this perfect video, and like, no, Zoom has never. However, over in my little booth over here, Zoom's looking pretty damn good.
Yes, it is.
Yeah,
partially
it's
because
funny
of that camera.
The more money you spend, the better shit looks. I've definitely learned that.
Well, that camera's just been hanging around with me for a while, so it's not Mr. Camera, but yeah. So
Okay, close relative.
So as an after effect of all that, now Project Band is not limited to people in the cadre that you know in California or Florida or anywhere in between. It's open to people wherever they are.
Right.
Around the world.
But
Yeah.
I will say that if you're in Project Band in Antarctica, that for the big annual show, you need to have your butt in San Antonio. Because at a certain point, God bless you and all of your technology.
Oh, yeah.
However,
Yeah.
when it comes to performing to live music, if you're not right there with the band, there's something messed up. In fact, we were talking about how when we were at Arjohn's, the guys from Houston and Lamont were in town, and we played at Arjohn. They played at Arjohn's, and we danced to them. But Arjohn's had to put this plexiglass thing on the edge of the stage. So between the stage, the raised stage where the musicians were, and the dance floor, there was this clear barrier, COVID clear barrier.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Yeah.
Just that made a difference. Just that made a difference because you can, I don't know what
You're not going to hear. There's going to change.
You're missing something.
and you're
It
just
bounces.
missing something.
Yeah.
You're just, the way that Hussam, when he's playing the drums and he leans towards you, when there's a barrier right there, it's just not the same, man. It's just not the same. Even though it's clear, it's really, that's not just me. Every dancer was like, man, if that just would have come down, it would have been different. So if that makes a difference, on screen.
It's not perfect. And at the same time, I think a lot of people's expectations are changed as well. And being able to know, hey, this is as close as we're going to get to that right now. And this is pretty amazing.
Right. Yeah. It is. It is. And it's definitely the way we are using it for Project Band over the course of a year as a tool. It's perfect. It's perfect. But to use it as the end goal, like we were forced to do for GBDAC, I would only want to do that when I'm forced to do it. Yeah, definitely.
But we look like we're good for this year.
For this year, GBDAC?
Yeah.
You damn right. I think the only question at this point, because it's going to be in October and
Is
here we
how
are
I'm
in
going to
April.
work 8 cameras.
Well, it's occupancy, what level of occupancy can we have? But it's going to, or what.
Well,
what
the
this
level of
crazy
occupancy right now is set by
Cosmos might have up its sleeve between now and then.
Yeah,
but
Buena Vista is setting the level of occupancy because the level of occupancy in Texas and in San Antonio is 100%.
Right. Yeah.
So they
but
set
institution by institution, they have to decide. And since they're part of the University of Texas system, we'll just have to see where that lands. But we've got some time. I'm hopeful.
Yeah, we could be the first 100%.
We could.
We could be.
Yeah.
We are the first major event
in that space.
In that space.
True. Yeah. When I was talking to the venue manager yesterday, he said that there was a small dance event that might happen in June, but it wasn't confirmed, or like ours is. I am in like many marbles and lots of many marbles and chalk. So definitely. And not only is GBDAC on October 1st through 3rd, 2021, going to be the first major thing, or maybe the first thing, period, going on in the Buena Vista Theater of University of Texas in San Antonio downtown campus. But it will be the first live ticketed concert for the National Arab Orchestra.
Speaking of tickets, so we've always had this challenge with how we're going to do tickets, right? Now there's thousands of platforms out there. There's like, hey, we can do this, and you can do it on YouTube, you can do here, you can do there. I don't know if Karen told you, but at the Buena Vista Theater, they have ticketing. So we're going to have a ticketing.
I cannot wait.
And I think we have
out.
a ticketing, a virtual ticketing process also, which would make crazy amounts of sense if they did.
Absolutely. And one of the things that always gets in my way is butts in seats.
Yeah.
Because or eyeballs in seats kind of thing. Because one of the things that so many people do, and we got over this early and fast, which is great. And so many people do is they go ahead and have the ability to buy a ticket, and then they don't follow up. You never know when you don't have a reminder for that ticket. You don't have a nurturing kind of sequence of emails that are saying, hey, can you wait? I mean, are you getting excited? And building that up before the event. And so what we've done is we've done some great job of going ahead and helping people understand that journey. And we've got the road to GBDAC coming up for the 25th anniversary. And we're doing a lot of interesting things and some flashbacks and such like that. To be able to get people engaged and involved and remember to show up, right? I see it all the time with people that are doing webinars, especially. It's like, oh yeah, you just haven't signed up for the webinar, and they'll show up, and it's like, yeah.
And I think one of the things that we'll be able to do this year that we haven't been able to do in the past is spend more time, because it looks like the video technology is going to be set up already. And if the ticketing technology is going to be set up, so what we should do is now look at truly 3-4 months out, which we're almost there now, right? Yeah. And this is where we start creating the content for GBDAC and hitting people on a daily basis with posts and running little ads for it, right? Otherwise, I think we're going to have a little bit more time from a tech standpoint, right?
Oh yeah.
There's not going to be a huge test. Matter of fact, as I ran back in the control room real
Make
quick.
sure it all works.
Yeah, well, no, the reminder, do you want to restart in an hour now? I was like, oh, I don't want to restart now, so restart in an hour. But as I ran in there, I was like, wait a minute. I think we can do the clips directly from the booth and then send the clips out over the internet. So we'll be able to clip. So normally how we are clipping from the phone, we'll be able to clip from the booth as well.
You mean like to put out on Facebook?
To put out on Facebook. And if nothing else, I think we can actually set you up with a laptop so we can do it. Oh, I'm like, oh my God, this is so cool. So now we can share these out everywhere.
In fact, I found out from another client today about a new app that connects to Zoom. It's called Perfect Recall. And what it does is it allows you to create snippets from your Zoom things.
Did I tell you about that one? I thought I'd tell you about that one.
You may have told me about that too. However, the universe aligns and multiple things come
because I think
together.
that was the one that you can actually look at. And I think Perfect Recall, it made it sweet. And it was not that one, it's another one to where you can record the Zoom meeting and then go back and at any point transcribe out and see what's going on in the meeting.
It automatically transcribes, and you can go ahead and just then say, "Oh, I want this section right here."
Yep, I'm pretty sure that's the same one that I looked at. It may not be a Perfect Recall, but something like that.
Something like that. Absolutely. The tools that are out there are amazing. I mean, just being able to go ahead and have the transcriptions.
Well, Zoom was able to accomplish or get more data in the past year than they could have even hoped to have gotten in 10 years.
Oh my God, yeah.
And so now they have all the different AI, they have different languages, and so now it's about I'm about to lose a whole bunch of people, but now it's about machine learning and artificial intelligence and now compiling, because if you can get AI to where it's about 80%, 90% good for transcribing, that's a step up for Zoom, because now, like you said, Kathy, Gylon, Karen, and you type in those 3 words, and as long as it gets Kathy and Karen and G something,
then you're good to go.
Then it's there.
Yeah. I remember a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away when you were starting your blogs, and we were talking about, okay, so I'm just gonna have to write that, and it's like, well, what if you just videotape yourself? You don't have to wear any makeup.
I do remember that. Yeah.
Yeah.
She never did it.
And well, this will be a perfect segue into our little topic that I thought about. Yeah.
Being able to, and I use it now all the time with folks. And there's actually an app called Otter, which will go ahead and transcribe and give you the audio of what you said. It was just being able to go ahead and use the technology to save that time while you're creative, rather than having to go ahead and sit down in front of a computer and compose all this stuff in the old-fashioned way. We don't have to do that anymore, and it opens up the creativity for people and the immediacy.
With Pep Squad, Positive Energy People podcast that I'm going to take back on. I'm excited about doing that, but I'm going to be more specific about the guests that I bring on and the questions that I ask at points, because now I have fodder for a book, because it's easier to record all of this, transcribe it, and then have either write it or have somebody ghostwrite and compile it. And now I have a book around positive energy people, which is amazing. Right. And then I think our season 2 for baby boomer
It's hard to say.
baby boomer belly dancer is, maybe we look at, okay, is it time to start constructing this book and be very strategic about the people that we bring on and the questions that you're asking them, because we'll be able to transcribe that. And next thing you know, you got an hour worth of audio that's 8-9 pages. You've done that 10 times. Now you got a 120-page book.
And I'm already doing that with other clients.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, I mean, it's not like it can't be done. It can be done. And you've already got your philosophy topics book from the blogs that were done before. So being able to self-publish those kinds of things, the availability of being an author, which was so insurmountable 10 years ago.
Right. Yeah.
The accessibility. Let me pull back, because we've been talking about technology, right? We talked about baby boomer belly dancer, and we've talked about belly dance fun and all these different things. But we didn't talk about the technology that Karen, she nowhere near pioneered it, but it was already using, which was CDs. When CDs were a thing, and I think a lot of people were doing it, but Karen went out and engineered her own CD with custom music, right? That's a huge piece of technology that nobody talks about. Right, is the belly dancer who had her own music on CD.
I had a cassette.
I thought she did. I didn't want to say it because I didn't want to go there, but I thought so. So think about that. So you've had a cassette, you've had a CD, you've had audio,
now I have. You took my CDs and put them out there via what is that called?
Oh yeah. Oh my God, I did do that.
What is that? What is the overarching?
Spotify.
It's on Spotify. But there's what the hell is the overarching?
It was a CD baby. It was. I know what you're really talking about.
Damnation?
No, it's yeah. So, but are you on? Because you're on iTunes.
Yeah.
iTunes, Apple, everything. And
you get a little check from that each month.
TuneCore.
Yeah, TuneCore.
Yes,
TuneCore. When I said check, it clicked in her head where she gets the check from.
Yeah. So all of that, and that's the cassette that was then converted to CD. That was then converted to
TuneCore, which is on Spotify, iTunes, which even, it's okay. So we can even, because we talk technology, right?
Right.
So not only that, we created a coloring book. And then that coloring book we self-published on Amazon. And so she had a coloring book as well with her philosophy topics that were on there.
And if you go in the show notes, look all the way at the bottom, and you will be able to sign up and get a copy of, well, actually, that's the philosophy topics.
Okay.
But we can get you
get your coloring book as well.
With Sara's drawings. Yes.
There's so many things that I've just said, hey, Karen, what about a coloring book? And she's like, because we were talking about adult coloring books.
Absolutely.
And she's like, sure. And I'm like, okay, so how do I do
now
this
what?
Say yes. Now. She said yes.
Now what? So see, that's the second thing that's made me think it's time to talk about these things, because you guys have come up with a lot of great ideas for me, and a lot of them I do, but some of them I don't. And so now, because I know this is going to be heard by other people, I'm going to give you the chance to talk me into it. Make me defend myself.
I think we might be able to agree on this one.
Tell me the thing that you wish I would do with regards to technology that I'm just obstinately sitting here going, I'm not going to do it. Or I say, I'm going to do it, but then I never really do. So I don't mean it when I say I'm going to do it. What has been that thing?
You first, Gylon.
So mine's 2, and I think we're going to agree on the second one possibly. Being able to sit down in front of a camera and just create content. Just talking to the camera, just blab about belly dance and fuss and bitch and moan and laugh and cry. Speaking of fussing, bitching, moaning, laughing, and crying, where's our wine?
Oh,
Where the fuck is my
I
wine?
had lunch with my brother today. When I have lunch with my brother, I drink
You
a lot
drink.
at lunch, and so I'm done for the day. I'm sorry.
We there
I
every
could have
time.
brought some.
I have literally drank wine in the booth, and I'm at the
I'm
table,
sorry.
and
Do you
there's
know
no
the problem? That's really not the problem. I can keep drinking all day, but the problem is that I come this time slot right now is right after a class of mine,
Yeah,
and so I'm just not as organized.
Right.
When I was coming over here in the evenings, like from home or wherever,
Yeah.
and I wasn't coming from having taught a class, then I
Yeah. So normally there's
a little
wine
more
on the
organized.
table, and there's no
Yeah.
wine. So
I'm
I think
sorry.
people are,
I just need to bring some damn wine over here and keep it
Yeah.
here. That's what I need to do.
So don't do that.
Okay. it'll evaporate.
It'll
Is that what you're
evaporate,
telling
yeah.
me?
So I think creating more content has always been that. First one was, and we finally went over to it, which was taking $1 out of everybody's credit card and then charging them 2-3 weeks later for the classes. That was number one. And that I think we lost a lot of money doing that at the time because
I know,
nobody cared.
And I just want to defend myself, but and I understand now that that's just the way the game is played.
Exactly.
I've learned so much from being married to a politician. There's so much bullshit that goes on, but you either do that or you die. That's it. That's the way the game is played. And so I understand now that in terms of marketing, if you want to talk to me, I need your credit card number.
Yeah, you get here's a buck. Here's a buck for 7 days worth of trial.
I get so mad when people do
somebody
that to
does
me.
it to you. Yeah.
And so I didn't want to do that to other people. And yet that's just it's one of those things.
And it's a headache refunding it, but most companies that I've worked with have, I said, you know what, I forgot this. It's been 2 days.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, okay, don't worry, here's your money back, right? Because you don't want the chargebacks, you don't want the headaches, you don't want the bad reviews. But we started doing this, so that was it. But yeah, more content would have been the only one, and there's one more, but I don't want to take that. But
let me defend myself on the content too. I'm just, I have a hard time believing. So I got through 2 podcasts here, Gylon, on my own, just kind of chatting with you.
Sure.
And then I was like, I'm 58 years old, and yet I think I've told you everything that I've done ever.
Right.
Because I don't. Like many people, I can't just yammer on about myself indefinitely.
Sure.
Without some banter, And so like, help me. Who cares? What do we want to talk about now? That kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so to just sit down in front of the computer, 25 times a day, I've got something that I want to rant on about belly dancing.
I know, that's what I'm saying. There have been
bitches
moments.
Bitches are signing up to come to class, and then they don't freaking show up. And, I've got a goddamn $70,000 show coming up in October. You'd think they'd have their ass here, but they're not here. What the fuck with these people? Like, I could do that. But then it's like...
That is so going to be the clip that shares.
I just think... Who cares? It's so Kardashian. Who cares, man?
Yeah. 2 of the Kardashians are billionaires.
I know. I just find it hard to believe.
Of course, if you would have started when they started, you would be called Baby Booty Belly Dancer.
There is that.
That's funny.
Boom, boom. Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
so other things that I should be doing.
So I got one more, but
Well, so what I would love to see is us getting you over the fence of the people learning how to do belly dance on YouTube by going ahead and upping the game.
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah. So what if people could
Have I heard this one before? Or are you?
I don't know. Yeah,
something
this
new
is-
at me.
Yes,
Yeah,
this is sort
okay.
of, yeah. So being able to go ahead and have dedicated classes on YouTube so that people can study from you, so they can start the journey, and maybe even better yet, be able to have class, be able to have a situation where you're showing a video of a class, and you're pointing, and you're standing there, you're pointing out the situations that are going on. In a particular movement, or this is what I was trying to accomplish, or this is the why of why we're doing this particular thing, which you do in especially the more advanced classes, but giving people these insights so they can understand that progression that happens when somebody actually studies under you.
So like playing a video of a class that I'm teaching and actually pausing it and addressing things in more detail?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You've never said that. That's a great idea.
we've talked about reaction. We've talked about reaction video, so it's
Well, we
it's
have
similar,
talked about that.
right?
Yeah.
It's similar,
Yeah.
but reacting to other people.
Well, you know what though? Because I hadn't done it. I've done it once. What was it I did?
It was on. It was a masterclass thing, I think.
It was when just went into the studio and I filmed myself dancing to something, and then I
Yes.
sat there and critiqued it.
Yes, you did.
Yeah.
There was a
that was
critique one.
fun.
Yeah.
That was fun.
Yeah, and I think it would open up an opportunity for a challenge, so that you could actually have on YouTube the opportunity to, hey, if you like this and would like to have me critique your dance, if you're open to that, then click the link down below and send in your video, and we'll go ahead and do that.
Interesting.
And it opens up content where you can critique because you already have their permission.
And so YouTube frustrates me because of the music licensing and all that kind of stuff and getting muted. Like I put videos out there of myself dancing to the live music of the guys playing at GBDAC, and they've muted it.
Yeah.
What the hell?
Yeah.
Like you can't tell me.
So the other day I used Castr, C-A-S-T-R, as I streamed probably my biggest stream ever, which was from the Tobin Center, Children's Chorus of San Antonio, and we had that same issue that they were talking about getting muted on YouTube. And what we did is we just went around the any liability or having to worry about anything, and we streamed through Castr, and they just carried our stream live regardless of what it was.
Where was it available to watch?
On Castr. So then we would have to upload it to Facebook and or YouTube, and that's kind of like where the headaches would probably come in at that moment.
Yeah, it's just like if we go ahead and we're to stream through Uscreen or Wistia.
Yeah. Now what they say you do is you whitelist the music now. So you say I own the CD. You provide the rights, you provide a click-through letter, and showing that you own the music rights.
See, and that's where you get to the point where it's like, that is a lot of shit for me to do.
Yeah.
And so now I'm not going to do it. You know, that's what happens with a lot of these ideas. They're great. You know, a lot of the ideas are great. But when it goes from, you know, just do this to, oh, yeah, but then you have to do that and you have to do that. And then you have to make sure you do that. Whatever. Like,
Okay.
I've got dog's feet.
So I thought Kathy was going to take mine, but I think she'll agree with me, is a Roku channel.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, having a channel on Roku where people can just go to Bellydancer, Baby Boomer or Karavan, or type in Bellydancer, search you, and then you come up, because there's other people that are doing it, right? And maybe do it more premium, kind of like along the line of Patreon and stuff like that. And I think you're going to come to a point of that where it's going to be dogs and less women, and where you're going to enjoy talking a little bit more about stuff. And stylize it a little bit more, but it's kind of like the life and time of Karen, and keep you fresh.
And maybe we'll be doing the Patreon channel before that.
Yeah.
So if you're watching this and you think Karen should have a Patreon channel, please comment
Just
below.
more platforms, more stuff.
Yeah, I'm saying no to Patreon. I think you should get an OnlyFans though.
What?
Oh God, no.
See, this is what I go through every month, people. Every month, every meeting.
OnlyFans. So comment if you all think Karen should have an OnlyFans page.
Yeah, we were talking about twerking earlier too.
Yes,
So
yes.
this is going.
Hey,
even
there's a
with
market
outline,
for
there's
baby
going
boomer
down.
OnlyFans people.
I'm sure there is.
We'll sort that out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Don't Google OnlyFans, Karen. That's
I won't.
it. Don't Google
Don't worry.
OnlyFans.
I won't.
All right.
Okay, so, wow. To be continued, I'm sure, because shit changes so fast in y'all's world. And
Well, I'm excited about GBDAC in that playroom. I think there's so much technology in there. We're not.
there
even,
is, and it's going to be exciting. I'm glad that I got you guys to be my liaisons with that, because when I saw what was going on in that theater right now and their high tech equipment and all, that's a lot of stuff, and I'd hate to not make the most of that.
Oh, we will.
And yeah.
What's so funny, and I can't wait to get in there. I need to look at the picture again. If I'm not mistaken, Kathy, the technology that they're using there was the technology that Karen had in her studio at first was a precursor to what they have there. Yeah.
That's how ahead of our time we.
Yeah.
On a much bigger scale.
Hey,
but still.
I only work with trailblazers.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. That's what we are.
Alrighty.
Trailblazers. All right. So this is Baby Boomer Bellydancer and all this tech stuff signing out till next time. I'm going to go into the booth now and shut us down.
Yes.
It's so cool.
You want to take a look at it?
Sure.
Yeah.
See, I think this was better than last week.
Exactly.
Rehearsals. There's nothing like rehearsal.
Rehearsal and do-over, which is do-overs are always better. So cool. Too fun.
Yes.